She was once the face of love itself. Meg Ryan didn't just act in romantic comedies, she defined them. With one laugh, one smile, one unforgettable scene at Katz's Deli, she captured the heartbeat of an entire generation. For a decade, Hollywood crowned her the queen of rom-com, and the world couldn't get enough. But then, almost overnight, everything shattered. One rumored affair, one broken marriage, one failed movie, and the same press that once worshipped her suddenly ripped her apart. Headlines called her a cosmetic disaster. Casting directors stopped calling. Talk show hosts mocked her. And the audience that once adored her fell silent. How does a woman who once embodied hope and tenderness become a ghost of Hollywood's past? Was it betrayal, or was it her choice to walk away? This is not the fairy tale Hollywood sold us. This is the rise, the fall, and the heartbreaking silence of Meg Ryan, the star who taught us how to love, and then disappeared when she couldn't love herself anymore. Before Hollywood chewed her up and spat her out, Meg Ryan was its brightest promise. Born Margaret Mary Emily Hyra in Connecticut, she grew up in a broken home where loneliness carved itself deep into her heart. But that very loneliness fueled her need to express, to connect, to be seen. By the late 1980s, she was no longer just another pretty face in soap operas. With When Harry Met Sally 1989, she delivered the most iconic scene in rom-com history, a performance so bold, so daring, that audiences laughed, gasped, and fell in love all at once, overnight. Meg wasn't just an actress, she was the symbol of modern romance. Then came Sleepless in Seattle. You've got Mail, City of Angels. Every role turned her into America's sweetheart. Critics called her the last great romantic heroine. Directors praised her instinctive warmth, her timing, her rare ability to turn simple lines into unforgettable emotions. In an industry obsessed with beauty and perfection, Meg Ryan seemed untouchable, but the higher she climbed, the more fragile her pedestal became. Because in Hollywood, the crown of America's sweetheart is a curse, and the world was waiting for her first misstep. For a moment, Meg Ryan seemed to have it all: fame, beauty, and a love story that Hollywood itself might have written. On Valentine's Day, 1991, she married actor Dennis Quaid, and soon after, their son Jack was born. To the outside world, they were perfect. The golden couple, the American dream. But behind closed doors, the cracks were already forming. Quaid struggled with addiction, while Meg carried the crushing weight of her fame. He later admitted that walking beside her in public made him feel invisible. She confessed years later that fidelity had not been his strength. Then came Russell Crowe. In 2000, during Proof of Life, the tabloids caught Meg and Crowe together, and the press erupted with accusations of betrayal. Suddenly, America's sweetheart was branded the adulteress, the woman who had destroyed her marriage. Crowe was painted as the homewrecker and Quaid the victim. But Meg broke her silence years later. The affair was the least of the problems. My marriage had already fallen apart. It was a rare moment of honesty. But by then, the damage was done. The public no longer saw the rom-com darling. They saw scandal, and Hollywood never forgives its fallen angels. The 2000s should have been Meg Ryan's second act. Instead, they became her undoing. Proof of Life and Hanging Up stumbled at the box office. And suddenly, critics began to whisper that she was no longer bankable. Then came the tabloids, merciless, circling like vultures. One plastic surgery rumor turned into a feeding frenzy. Headlines mocked her face as if her entire career could be reduced to before and after photos. The final blow came in 2003 on The Michael Parkinson Show. Pressured with invasive questions about In the Cut, Meg pushed back, curtly telling the host to wrap it up before walking out. Overnight, she went from America's sweetheart to Hollywood's cold diva. Invitations dried up, commercial deals vanished, casting directors looked elsewhere. It was a brutal reversal. The same press that once celebrated her warmth now painted her as ungrateful, arrogant, and broken. In truth, Meg had simply refused to smile through humiliation. But Hollywood doesn't reward defiance. It punishes it. By the mid-2000s, Meg Ryan was no longer the queen of rom-coms. She was an exile, a living reminder of how quickly Hollywood turns its back when a woman dares to age, stumble, or fight back. When the noise of Hollywood finally died down, Meg Ryan was left with something she had never truly known before: silence. For a woman who once lit up box offices worldwide, the quiet was deafening. But instead of chasing roles or begging for redemption, Meg chose to disappear. In 2006, she adopted her daughter Daisy from China, calling it a destined connection. Suddenly, her life was no longer measured by premieres or ratings, but by bedtime stories and school runs. With her son Jack growing into an actor in his own right, Meg poured herself into motherhood. She often said she asked herself 3 questions every day. Are they inspired? Are they happy? Are they safe? For years, paparazzi photos showed her walking through New York's West Village in casual clothes, far from the red carpets. Rumors about her looks persisted, but Meg shrugged them off with one line: "Let it go. What once seemed like exile slowly became liberation." She was no longer America's sweetheart. She was simply a mother, a writer, a woman who chose peace over spectacle. In Hollywood's silence, Meg Ryan finally found her voice again. Meg Ryan's story is not just about the rise and fall of a Hollywood star. It is about how fragile fame can be and how brutal the industry is when its sweetheart dares to change, to age, or to fight back. She left behind 3 Golden Globe nominations, a trilogy of timeless classics with Tom Hanks, and unforgettable characters who taught us that love could be funny, awkward, messy, and real. But perhaps her greatest legacy isn't on screen. It's in the courage to walk away when the world demanded she stay, to choose family over fame, silence over scandal, peace over performance. Few stars have dared to step back from the spotlight so decisively, and even fewer have done it with such grace. Her life reminds us that Hollywood crowns can vanish overnight, but self-worth endures, that sometimes the bravest act is not fighting for relevance, but embracing a life outside of it. So now we ask you, which part of Meg Ryan's journey struck you the most? Her reign as the queen of rom-coms, or her quiet strength in choosing peace? Share your thoughts below. And don't forget to subscribe for more untold Hollywood stories.